I use a flashlight to check that thing. It's dark enough in here where the light wanted to come on. It's toward the end of the day. It's been a busy day. And I come out here to get a beer. But I've been working in the garden all day. Well, not all day. I mean, I jump around from one project to the other. It's delightful. But I thought I'd do a video. I realize I haven't done one for a couple days. I guess I spent some days out on the grader. And then, like I say, now it's back in the garden. Though I see temperature tonight could get down to 35 degrees. Now that's getting in that spooky range. Remember that I had that last year where I was in good shape and then everything froze. So hopefully I don't get that again. Though again, I could recover from it, but things got a good start and I'd hate to see that happen. But 35, so we'll see. We'll chance it. I did do a video yesterday, I guess. And it's actually still on the phone. I debated I could just put that one up. But usually, if I do one and once it's done, I have no further interest in it. And I probably wandered off into some areas that could get me in trouble anyway. So we'll see. I'll maybe stick. I thought one day I should do a video bringing up a lot of stuff that used to get you into trouble, but I think you can get by with now. Maybe. Because they were really down on anything about the COVID vaccine for a while. But now there's just so much medical facts that have been coming out about it. I think a guy could go there, and I don't know that they could call it disinformation. I should dig out. I got that one that they took down. I bet I could put that up now. And say, see, I told you so, kind of deal. Because they're having all kinds of weird stuff come up now that they can't explain. That odd cancers and weird heart problems. And now they got a new monkeypox. Well, not new, old, but it's going around. So that'll give them something to play with. We could maybe get another shutdown going. Though I don't think they can pull it with that. Like I say, that's an old thing that's been around. But they do like their little tragedies. And I swear Bill Gates lived for that. And I think in another video I did talk some about nonsense in Ukraine. But I'll see. Maybe I'll put that one up. But I think, somebody mentioned it one day. How is it that all of a sudden we have all these totally incompetent kooks as world leaders? Because honestly, we do. We've got some real dandies in there. It's a funny thing. I mean, normally you have some loopy kind of leaders, Though a lot of times, they try to convince you that they're, that they behave bizarrely. I mean, they always do that if they don't like them. At one time they could be the greatest guy in the world, and then all of a sudden we turn against them, and then they're horrible people. But just looking at what we're dealing with now, man, that is a bunch. And I do get a kick out of this now where you look at the news, though I'm just getting so fed up with looking at, I usually try to keep an eye on what's going on in like the mainstream news. I go into it knowing it's all going to be bullshit, but you kind of want to keep an eye on the bullshit, but it's just getting outlandish. It's just really tough to watch. And there's a lot of these weird little news channels that pop up on your feed, even though you're not subscribed to them. Here they come, and it's all propaganda and very poorly done. That's where you see all this, like little clips out of video games that they're claiming is news, and it's just not nothing. It's really quite amazing. And then they try to get their, I guess their Ministry of Truth is on hold for a while. That wasn't working out for them. But Jesus, there you put that loon in charge of something like that. I don't. And this whole thing going on with Twitter is freakish. But it's true, like when they say half of Biden's followers were just bots. I hate to use that word. I see that all the time. But they weren't real people. But if you say anything like against the war now, oh, you're a Russian bot. Well, it's news to me. But it's a constant accusation that people throw at anybody who's just trying to tell you facts. But it goes on, So I think, it is funny. Oh God, I just hate the thought of the money we're spending there, though. That is just money thrown away. That's a crazy deal. But they will not listen. Like when Rand Paul, who I do think pretty highly of, I think real highly of his dad, and Rand is kind of following the path of his dad. And he tried to get him to have something, so there's some check on this that they actually have to keep track of where this money is going, because they have no idea. Well, they claim to not have any idea, though, a lot of it's going back into those politicians' pockets. It's funny, they get all these military experts, retired generals and whatnot on these news channels, and they always turn out to be, working for Raytheon or Boeing or, one of them. It's all an inside kind of deal. But then they give you a line of bullshit, and it's unfortunate because there's going to come a time where all these true believers are going to have to accept the facts. And it's going to be a little tough for them. I have absolutely no faith in our government whatsoever. I mean, I never have, but oh man, what we got going on now, that's just a joke. It's embarrassing, but, well. But even like that Johnson, it's weird things they do. There's a lot of them. And like even where Finland and Sweden want to go into NATO, when there's no possible benefit to them. I don't understand that. It's just you're not doing your job. You're caving into the pressure from this country, and these people from this country are just madmen, just warmongering. Why you would listen to anything they have to say? I am glad that Turkey is, putting up a little fuss, but Turkey is kind of a flip-floppy kind of thing, so you don't put a lot of faith in Turkey, but I think there's another country, too, that's saying, I don't like the sound of that. So we'll see how that shakes down. But I don't know why you'd want to be involved in NATO. There is no gain to you. Well, it's too late now. I mean, they should have, once they applied, well, then Russia's got to keep an eye on them. Russia wasn't worried about them before. Now they got to keep an eye on them. It was funny the other day. I ran into a video. I probably should have marked that one. What was really interesting, like they keep wanting to make this sound like all of a sudden, oh, Russia just out of the blue invaded Ukraine. Don't know why, no idea why. Why would they do this? But they know this is coming ever since 2014. I mean, this was bound to come. Or even before that. But there was a guy that was pretty sharp on this stuff. Did a video about what is going on now, but he did it like 7 years ago. And it doesn't have a hell of a lot of views, but I don't know how it got my recommended, but my God, he was right on the money with that. I mean, he had different scenarios how this would play out. He wasn't taking into consideration this wild inpouring of money and weapons from the West. But it was interesting to see how he had figured this whole thing out. But it isn't like this was a mystery. I mean, they all knew this was coming. They provoked it as much as they could and in every way that they could. They wanted this to happen. The purpose behind it eludes me, but they really left the Russians no choice in the matter. So they had to do what they had to do. So I can't fault them. But when like Ukraine said, and it always says, like if you read an article like an RT, then they will have this disclaimer at the end where, like Ukraine claims that this was a totally unprovoked invasion. Well, it wasn't unprovoked. I mean, that was, the whole thing was provoke, provoke, provoke. It's funny too now because, like when a bunch of them surrendered out of that steel plant, that was a joke too. Uh, the whole where they said, oh no, they're evacuating them, and oh yeah, they just finally had to surrender. And there's some of them people, if they could get a shot at Zelensky, they would take it. The people that were fighting for Zelensky are not happy with Zelensky. So he probably should be happy that they're going to be locked up. Though, when they were saying, oh, they'll be exchanged, well, there'll be some that will be exchanged. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of them that they weren't in this wanting the battle. I mean, the Azov bunch, yeah, they living for that. But there's so many people that just got drug into this when they declared martial law, and anybody between, 18 and 60 or something was automatically in the military. Well, they weren't too interested in fighting, and a lot of them are just refusing to fight now. Just giving up, saying, no, that's enough. And they were talking, there was a lot of them that skied out a lot of the country before this, or right when it was first starting. They were smart enough to get out, figuring that they would be sucked into this thing. Well, now they're going to pull their Ukrainian citizenship on them, because they didn't come back, to fight this crazy battle for them. At the same time, over here where they're trying to recruit ISIS members. That's something else too. Get them involved. They let them out of prison. We're going to retrain them on our equipment and then throw them in the mix with all these Nazis. I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing good is going to come of that. There'll probably be some heads chopped off, but that'll really add to the mix. Well, keep it short. Though I tend to talk until that thing stops. But I gotta make supper and fold her up for tonight. But I figured, I got battery. And I'm done. She's winding down. But I got a lot to do again tomorrow. I'm a busy man. Got a lot on my plate here. I'm jumping from one project to the other all the time. But if it don't freeze tonight, I'll be happy. If it freezes, that's another bunch to do. But I think I'll be okay. But I'll have to try that someday, maybe. Do a video poking them a little on some of the stuff that they used to get so darn riled up about. With the COVID and all this stuff. Or I should dig around. I think I can still find that video I did the one time that they took down. I can put that up now. And I think I could skate her by because I see things coming up. Though it's silly where people, they always have to talk in code words, even talking about this Ukraine thing. Oh, you got to talk in code words to get around some algorithm nonsense. I don't know how people, think you're fooling anybody. And I'm sure, like I say, that Ministry of Truth, that went to hell on them, but I think they're thinking, we put it all on this one crazy woman. We're going to have to get a committee going. Which would be quite a joke too, because they got not much to choose from. Oh, as I was pointing out when they're talking, I never saw this 2,000 mules or whatever, but when they start talking about voting irregularities, well, it's a little far in the game to be bringing that. They should have jumped on that right away when everybody knew stuff was going down. But no, let it slide. And if you said anything, they would shut you down. Well, now it's kind of all over the place. And they're arresting people and whatnot, but, the damage is done. We got a pack of loons running the whole operation now. It's hard to come back from that. I'm not saying Trump was any better. I'm not a big fan of Trump. But, my God, yeah, that's a bunch. Well, hopefully people learn their lesson on that. I doubt it, but it would be nice to think that, and hopefully the next time they have an election, they'll watch this stuff a little closer. But you could see them already trying to line up for the midterms, trying to try to put a fix in on that. But there are people who should just be locked up. Well, that's Stacey Abrams for one. Why she runs free, and all that fortifying the election stuff that Facebook was doing. Man, the rig was in on that. Oh, well. But I think this stuff with Ukraine, I think is going to, very interesting. Like I say, that guy who did that thing 7 years ago, boy, that was interesting. And the only thing I see now, a question that I'm curious about is Odessa. If they actually go for Odessa or not. That's up in the air. Because if they take Odessa, Ukraine is really screwed. As it is, they're going to be a small, piddling, useless country. All that, if you look, like now when they're talking, starving in the world and the Russians are stealing all the wheat. Well, it ain't the Russians' wheat. It belongs to the people who grew it, which are in that southeastern part of Ukraine. That's where the agricultural land is down there. They grew the wheat. It's their wheat. What they do with it is up to them. There's no reason that they should be given this wheat to Kiev, who would turn around and sell it and buy more weapons. That would be foolish when they've been trying to kill them for, 8 years? So, yeah, they can do with what they want. But that's where the agriculture, if you look at the maps of what the agricultural area is in Ukraine, that's what's been taken over. Well, there is a little bit, right straight north of Odessa, there's a little bit of wheat that gets grown there. But now when they're talking nonsense about running in missiles and they're going to take out the Russian ships and all, that ain't going to fly. Just foolishness. But because the thing is, Europe wants that wheat. But they ain't going to get it unless they start trucking it into Poland or something. That wheat is going to be gone. But honestly, okay, the deal is, as far as the food supply in the world, like Ukraine is responsible for 3% or 5% of the wheat production. They're really, fairly small player. Russia is the big gun. in the wheat production, but we don't want to deal with them, but we're going to have to. Well, not us, but Europe. I mean, we got wheat here. We could be, this whole area was founded on wheat production. That's not a problem. We could quit growing the damn corn that they turn into ethanol and start growing wheat. The main thing that Ukraine was really known for was sunflowers to be crushed for oil. Now, as we got, this has been a drawn-out spring. People are barely getting into the field now. I think you're going to find more people here planting sunflowers because they normally do that. If it gets late in the year, they'll plant sunflowers because they take a shorter growing season. We got a crushing plant just not far down the road. So that's not a big problem here. We could make up for that, but I think otherwise the sunflower crop, for oil, was like 35% of the world's supply was in Ukraine. But wheat, they're a pretty small player in the wheat. But like I say, the area that did grow wheat was not in Ukraine anymore. And it ain't going back. That's one thing people have got to realize, that what is taken now is not going back to Ukraine. If they would have made some deal early in this game, they could have put a stop to that, but no, it always aggravates me when I think that there was a time after this first started when they did have those peace talks in Turkey, and they were ready to make concessions, and then we got a hold of Zelensky and told him, nope, gotta push. So the Ukrainian people are going to suffer. But I think if somebody can get a shot at Zelensky, they're going to take it. If he was smart, he would skedaddle over to England right now, because I think his time as a leader is very limited. But I've heard rumblings of some very dissatisfied people in the military, that would really like him out of there. Though I imagine we're protecting the hell out of him. Yeah, I've gone on long enough for that amount of beer. I'll have to bring another 6 pack out here.